7 years ago, me and my wife met in a restaurant, and it was actually on the other side of the table. It was in the kitchen. She was applying for a bartending gig. I was the head chef at the time, making lunch, and I was making our Wild Boar Street tacos, house-made tortilla cheese, verde sauce, and I offered her some lunch, and she still says that's the best meal I've ever made her to this day, 7 years ago. And it's been super rad being able to grow with somebody in this industry, and the fact that we are continually doing it together through COVID and through the burnout and through the long, long days. It's just really nice to be able to share the chaos and creativity and body ache with somebody. The cool part about where we worked was she also was our baker as well as our bartender. We all lived upstairs above the restaurant, listening to the hood fans go on in the morning and, having the ability to sit back down with your roommates who are also your coworkers is kind of crazy. So 7 years later, 2 years married, couldn't be happier. And I owe the restaurant industry everything for that.
What'd you say? Heard. I got that, don't worry.
Okay.
Heard, chef, got 20 chicken all day.
I'm Ryan King, and as I always say, the table is the stage of life. But behind the kitchen doors, the people who set that stage for us every night are juggling a whole host of issues. Across this series, we've been picking apart many of those issues, speaking to culinary professionals and outside experts who can help you. And now, it's back to the chefs to get their take on some of the solutions we found and also some more insights on what's really happening in the kitchen.
All the social problems get exacerbated in the restaurant world.
There's a lot of, in my days, machismo.
It's hard for you male chefs. The middle ground is hard. You either want to be like 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. and we're fucking crushing it, bang on my chest.
What do you do to try and manage the stress of the kitchen?
I'm a junkie for that. I love the stress.
You gotta realize this industry, what it does to you.
We lose our humanity. The most human thing to do is to fail. We fail every day.
We are judged partially on the accolades we have.
I had the hardest, most emotional 2 years of my life while I was receiving any of those awards, and I don't think I enjoyed any of them.
There's only so long you can work a line, no?
Michelle came up to me one day and she's like, hey, freeze your eggs next to hot ovens all day.
What happens when everything you've sacrificed doesn't pan out?
Wait a second. Has this happened to you?
This is a raw, honest, and to-the-bone conversation that went to places that surprised all of us. And it was during this conversation I thought on many occasions I found that missing part of the puzzle. Through chatting to these chefs, I'm onto something that's really going to help change the industry for good. This is Heard, the podcast that aims to put the rest in restaurants. Let's meet the crew. 3 top chefs who've all been there, done that, and truly live and breathe this wonderful industry.
I'm a organic like fat boy. I love to eat. So a lot of memories growing up was always surrounded by food.
That's Timon Baloo, a really well-respected leader in the culinary industry in Miami.
I love the bonding that exists. I always play sports, so I think it has something to do with that. Cooking makes me happy.
That's Oscar Lorenzi, a great chef and a very good friend of mine.
The first place I ever felt okay, that I was not terrible at something, was in the kitchen.
And finally, Valerie Chang. Val's a young chef who's won loads of awards, and her brother Nando also works in the culinary world. You'll hear her mention him throughout this episode. 3 chefs, that truly love serving others. One of the many things I love about speaking to chefs is their passion for what they do. And Timon shares my view that the table is the place where some of the most important things in life can happen.
I love what food brings to the community and to the people while they're experiencing it. Friendships, family gatherings, that emotion, indulgence. I think sometimes in life we're so restricted with corporate restrictions and societal norms of what you're supposed to be. Food is just indulgent, and it's a one moment that you can just be yourself, and usually a group of people around you can share in on that, and you guys can be unequivocally honest and adulterated for a little moment.
There's something that happens at the table, no? There's like very few spaces that bring out the vulnerable side of you. Even with people that maybe you've only just met. I love that you share more at the table. Something happens when you get together around a table with people.
Yeah, everything, all of life is identified at that dinner.
Yeah.
You're gonna know who's the asshole on the table that you never want to eat again with. Yeah, you're gonna know who's gonna be your best friend that you want to have the next dinner with. You know, you can plan a vacation with it. You figure out all of fucking life.
Yeah, and sometimes you do the really sad shit at the table, no? Like, sorry, this is not working.
Yeah.
This relationship's over at the table. Or I got the results and they were the good results. You know, like, it's a safe space. It's somewhere that we go to. I always say the table is the stage of life. Like that, I truly believe in. I think that's really important.
Val, you mentioned that the kitchen was the first place where you didn't feel like you were terrible at something. Why do you think that is?
I struggled in school a lot. And so I needed medication to focus. So the kitchen was the only place that I was just like, oh, okay, like my brain and the way it works kind of works here because I can see everything and watch everyone and I can have an opinion on everything and say, hey, watch that there. Like that's going there and like that's going, you know.
Yeah, there's always something happening. They're quite fair as well, kitchens, no? Like
Yeah.
If you put in the effort, if you work, you can get to the top of that chain.
Yeah.
Some of them.
I don't know, Ryan.
No? You're at the top of the chain.
Yes. So but because I think a lot of people forget that, like, because of my experience, I can tell you, like, I don't know if it's that fair.
Why?
Some people just get really lucky, you know, and I just was at the right places, right time. I made the right connections. Like every person I've ever cooked with, I've taken something from there. It's like a little mini school that you go through life cooking with these chefs, right?
Yeah.
And for that, I'm always grateful to everybody who's ever sponsored a dinner because I'm like, it's beyond the event. Some of these meetings and some of these like collabs change your life forever or the way you do something, right? So not everybody gets that.
Yeah, 100%. It's refreshing to hear that.
That's true.
From someone successful.
Yeah.
Because we forget the luck often when we get to the top. We forget that we had that lucky break or we met that one person that changed things. And you mentioned the intensity there of kitchens. Like we kind of speak about what attracted you to kitchens, what keeps you there. You've all got different reasons that sort of drove you into kitchens. What are those intense moments, those intense memories you have where you're like, why am I doing this?
I think for me, it's the adrenaline of the service. You're dealing with art. You're in an environment where you're surrounded by artists, a couple of just doers. When I say doers, I mean those could be the best cooks, but they may not be the artists. They're just the best grill cook. And you get
executors.
temp on point every time and can work like 20 pans and things like that. But you know, you're around a common goal of creating this message. It's like a band. All the instruments have to be in sync for the service. Everyone plays their part and each instrument is vital to the beauty of the song. And there's highs and lows of that same song. There's the build up, the fucking climax where you're fucking rocking, and then there's the fucking the chill. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like peaks. I say it all the time, dude. We're all pirates. This is not like someone working in the HR or the banking sector. We're pirates. We plunder and pillage different oceans. We jump from ship to ship, but it's the pirate's way we go. Hi ho, hi ho. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh my God, do you start your pre-ships like this?
no, but it's the
Hey
way
guys,
after years I kind
Don't
of
fucking forget, we're pirates.
But I've heard this before, the pirates thing. It's a very Bourdain-y sort of view of kitchens. I hear it so many times, we're pirates. But pirates died of dysentery at 16. And the most famous pirate had a hook for a hand.
Yeah, I think we're fucked. I think we're all fucked up, and we all have
No.
scars. No, I think I'm okay. Not
No,
you.
put it out there. Why are we all fucked?
Well, I can only speak for myself, but I don't think anybody that's sane will choose to do this. I think a lot of it. Let's remember where it is. Right, we're fucking lucky. We're here on a podcast, streaming to some people that may or may not want to hear us.
Hopefully they would like
But
to.
listen, let's be very. When the egos are out the door and the business of this is gone, we're servants. This is a
Yes.
blue collar industry that has transitioned into a global business. These were the servants. The best cooks come from a lot of immigrant cultures, knowing how to fabricate and use scraps to make things delicious. Eating is survival.
The glory's quite new, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because there's back in the day, the chef comes into the dining room. I'm like, there's a fire.
Yeah.
What's happening?
What's he doing? Hide him in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
Dirty apron. This. That. Yeah.
He's absolutely right in everything he says, especially in the sense that where restaurants come from, like we're a blue-collar service, so we still service. It's glorified now. Oh, the chef, everyone wants to see the chef. The chef's a rock star.
More than that as well, we've given chefs a platform.
A platform.
Online.
Exactly.
This chef is a UN Goodwill Ambassador. This chef is working with the government on educational programs.
Love that.
We've elevated the chef to a level that you would have never predicted 20 years ago.
And those ones are few of them. Like, not even 1%.
Yeah, no one's
Yeah.
letting you on the
Yeah.
UN Goodwill Ambassadors.
There's 3 or 4. Right? But the rest, the majority of them, is just work, make people happy, go home.
There's a similarity to sports stars, no? In a way that there's only so long you can work a line, no? It does impact your body.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
agree on that. Physically,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's super
There's
demanding.
a time.
Yeah, I mean, I've had Michelle came up to me one day and she's like, "Hey, freeze your eggs." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "What?" She's like, "Listen, when you work in a line, it's serious. You're next to hot ovens all day. You need to consider this." I'm like, you get to a certain point in your career that you're like, what am I going to do with my life? I mean, from a women's perspective in a kitchen, when you start thinking about kids and the future, you're like, what are we really going to do here? And I think as a women, we do have to navigate things like...
That's for men too, though.
That's for men
but
too.
Yeah.
Women were so much more conscious of this, right? Like,
Yes.
we're just very hyper aware.
1,000%.
Like, because we were born, and like the moment you're born, they're like, when you get your period, you become a woman, and then after that, you only have 15 years, and you get it done. You're like, I'm just 30, and I'm barely surviving, and I don't know what to do, you know? And then you're like, now, you know? And then you turn 35, and they're like, high risk pregnancy, and you're like, I just became an adult. Like, what's happening, you know? So like you start really being conscious of these
Did
things.
it freak you out when she came up and just dropped that on you? Or
No, I was like,
what's
you know,
the thought process after that? Did
she's
you
right.
do it?
No.
It's really expensive.
I was like, what? When I went to
That's what
find
she
out,
said.
you have to take injections and you have to do that. And I was like,
You have to go through IVF.
There's a little bit.
You do?
Yeah, you do.
Because
So-
your eggs have to be very fertile. You're going to freeze them, so you have to go to IVF.
Oscar's done it.
All my wife's friends, my wife's older than you, she's 39. So all my wife's friends that are single have done it.
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's $20K.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like I think about this with insurance, you know, and then you start thinking about these other jobs that are a little more corporate, and you're like, like
you have
these
insurance.
jobs do like offer these resources, and I've always had this big dream that like I'll be on a line till I'm like 9 months pregnant, about to pop. Mm-hmm. You know,
And there
like,
are those
I
chefs
just
that are.
want to be there, like just sweating it out and just having fun in the kitchen, you know. But I do think then what happens?
You've touched on like 3 or 4 of the big points, like the longevity of the career, what happens next. You've touched on the healthcare issue. You've touched on the fact that there isn't insurance that could help you go and do that freezing of the eggs. Like these are the big issues, no, the big structural problems with kitchens.
Heard, chef.
Chef Heard.
Like let's talk about healthcare, because that's a big issue, no? That's something I think that affects everyone.
In America, at least.
Have you heard of OS Benefits? Have you
I
of
heard, yes.
Elizabeth Tilton. So she's created this company called OS Benefits, and they're trying to basically create a specific cooperative healthcare model for the restaurant industry in America. Because actually, that's the problem. You got all of these small, not everyone's a big group with thousands of employees that can negotiate on prices for their team. But if you all buy into the same policy, it brings the costs down significantly.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it.
I think like the intention is
into it too,
always
for
to
sure.
have insurance, but I also think like this is where we age each other. Like these issues are real, and they're starting to get like there's curiosity to fix them, right? All of us, we really want to offer insurance, and you do it anyway because now even the government forces you now. Like,
Yes.
hey, you have X amount of employees, you have to. But $300,000 makes a huge difference, right? It just really does in a
That's
restaurant.
why
but
that's
there's
why it costs
peop-
you to give in health insurance to
Yeah.
your team. Yeah.
So like now there's curiosity, and I think these issues are all going to get tackled, but they just need a little bit of timing because there are people who are very hyper aware of these issues that are trying to find solutions for them, and it's going to be up to the operators whether they engage in them or not, right? I'm curious for other benefits, like, and let's say if you've been here for 2 years and you've had great attendance, you know, we can weigh a claim that you submit for like, hey, this is a life moment happening for me, right? And if I'm able to get help for this, I will be able to be more present. Like I'll continue my work. I'll make commitment happen, right? And
But
like
shouldn't that just
beyond.
be a better wages? Wouldn't that just be higher wages across the board?
No, because
paying people
wages
more?
just get you to live the day to day. You know, you're talking about
There is a point when you earn
emergencies.
enough that you're also saving. No?
Never.
It's true. I mean, and I was telling you this the other day as well. I think all the social problems get exacerbated in the restaurant world. No, like we don't have so many female cooks, chefs.
Yeah.
We don't have so much social net where something happened. Health insurance, mental problems. And because of the financial situation of the restaurant, accidents, it's because you work long hours, it's physical, it's mental tolling. All those problems, there's not much diversity.
Yeah.
All those problems are exacerbated in the kitchen.
If I gave you a blank check now and I was like, you can fix one thing in restaurants, what would you fix?
I will create a fund like Val says, so you can help whoever needs need in the restaurant. I love
Anything
it.
that they need.
Anything. You need to move, kid's sick, wife is sick.
Have you guys heard of Southern Smoke?
Yeah.
I'm a Chris Shepherd. And they've been doing a lot of stuff like that, but it's more for like relief. And they also offer mental health care sessions for people working in the restaurant industry, which is super cool, I think. So you can apply for 15 free sessions with them. Even if they're not in your state, you can apply for what they call like a mini relief fund, and they'll give you free mental health care sessions.
The other thing that I love is, that I would love to do is education for like the dishwashers, the lower tier, so they can learn a different thing so they can get out of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Because you're not helping one person, you're helping one family. So everybody moves together.
But then you also create more of a problem with your retention.
But that's okay. That's my problem.
Well, actually, probably people want to work for you more because they're like, look what they did for that guy.
Exactly.
He's now...
Which is happening in our kitchens. We just don't talk about it or have structured it.
Why? Why don't we talk about it
Because
enough?
it takes time. It takes time. It takes money. Like this idea, it takes a lot of money.
So you create a fund. Let's not get practical about how this fund exists because that's not the point of a blank check, to actually come up with the mechanism. And if I want to buy a house or my kid's broke his leg and needs some support for medical, I can come to this fund and make an application. That's
you
the
do
idea.
this.
No, I
We
mean,
do it together.
there's many times that my cooks comes like, listen, my mom is sick, I need to send money to Mexico. I say, how much you need? Okay, it's like, pay me. I give him my money. They're like, I know you're gonna pay me. I know you. He was my dishwasher 15 years ago. Now he's one of my lead cooks.
Yeah.
No problem. Pay me however you
I
can.
love that about New York, though.
But it happens in your kitchens here too, though.
Yeah, no, like I was saying, like my cooks have been with me for a long time because they start as my dishwashers and they grow with me and they follow me to every other restaurant that I work. And now they can make more money. Like we pay $28, $27 an hour.
Love it.
You know, there's an event, you give them $300, $400 cash. It's good for them. And those events really help. Like you try to do once, twice a month, private catering gigs with the restaurant. That's how you can help them too.
All right, we gave you a blank check. What would you do for the industry?
I think it would be the insurance because in my head, I was thinking how to give everyone, make sure they always have 2 days off. It's my most recent restaurant. Wellness was very important, so it was baked in. We made sure to reverse engineer the whole plan, and that's by the grace of God. If you start with the favorable economics, then you could pass it on every step of the way. You pass it on first internally to your internal customers, which is your staff. Then it'll eventually be passed on to your guests. Every individual is different. Someone may want the insurance because it pertains to them, and a single kid that doesn't have kids and have to worry about this stuff wants to hire hourly so he can spend it for however he chooses to, or she. So my one answer is just wellness in the restaurant, whether it's health insurance or higher wages. I guess that's the answer.
And Val, what would you do with your blank check?
I would hire the biggest consulting companies to be able to provide different scenarios of what each chef thinks about a restaurant now and how to make it come to life, right? Like, what's important to you? Okay, wages are important to me this way. Weekends off are important to me. This is the hours I want to work. This is the hours I want the restaurants to be open. This is what I think my team should work. This is what I think my team should make. And to really be able to like offer different structures to say, in this scenario, this is the only way this happens, right? So I'm curious, like, because I think when you're young, you go into all these, you will never do the deal you've done ever again the next time, no matter how old you are, because you learn from that deal and you're like, that was a crappy deal, or what was I thinking? I was overly ambitious, or, so really being able to have like a group that can just, like, you can say, hey, I'm thinking this. Can you help me really put this into papers? And these are like the numbers, but this is the wellness and the lifestyle that like I want to be able to provide for my team and for myself. And what does this really look like?
You all spent that pretty well, guys. Very responsibly.
Heard, Chef.
Chef Heard.
Thanks for listening to Heard, the podcast that aims to put the rest in restaurants. This episode is sponsored by San Pellegrino, a brand that is proud to support, celebrate, and nurture the restaurant industry.
Heard, yeah, I got that. Don't worry.
I want to look a little bit about personal stress, physical stress, mental stress of kitchens. As I mentioned in the episode, we have a whole episode with this physiologist that wired chefs up, monitored them, and understood not only what happens when they're working the line, but what happens after, and the fact that you get inadequate recovery time when you're a chef. How has the stress of the kitchen personally impacted you, and what do you do to try and manage the stress of the kitchen?
I'm a junkie for that. I love the stress. I live for that.
So is it self-induced sometimes?
Yeah. I share that with my wife too. My wife is like, she's working less than 50 hours. She's like, why so slow? One night I was like, what are you talking about? It's 50 hours.
So you sometimes make when you say self-induced,
Yeah.
you sometimes make your job harder because you're not getting that vibe of the stress.
I mean, as you know me very well, I travel a lot. Sometimes I'm away from the kitchen, and as soon as I come back, the first thing that I want to do is just dive into the and stay there like for 18 hours. It drives me. It keeps me going.
Sorry to cut you off, but I was going to say, now as I'm older, I realize stress is different to different people. There's anxiety and stress to prepare and be ready because you're on a time limit. And once you've reached that time limit, there's another new stress of accomplishing that service and maintaining the highest standard of perfection. When that's done, you get a little bit of a break. I would say we're 0 to 100. So we're kind of like, we're the most erratic people, where my wife now, I work with my wife now. And
the greatest human ever existed.
Thank you. She'd love that. And
we only hang out with you because of her.
I think he knows that very well.
We've been together for a long time, so like 28 years, right? So now we're working together for the past 3 years, and she finally said, "I understand why you're so fucked up now." And she really said that because she realized the industry, this business, does it to you.
And what does she mean by that?
Because you go from high, low, high, low. Mm-hmm. She's like, how are you so like bipolar? So the business is almost bipolar. We're calm, then a rush comes in and we have to be on 200%, and then we get calm again. And you wait for the next pop. So we're kind of doing that just as the nature of the business. And now you couple it with all your tasks on your load, whether you're the chef or the cook, the prep guy. So that's compounded, right? So I'm going to say, to self-attestment, again, older, it's always you go out for drinks after. So you're always medicating. Smoking a joint, drinking. Most of the world's medicated, right? Some people do more. Let's talk honestly. In some of those high-end kitchens, you're doing it while you're in service. You know what I mean? You go in the cooler, everyone knows it. Pop in a cooler, what's happening in there? That's a culture. You know, is it this culture? No, I'm just saying what it is. I know I could speak to myself.
When I go,
No, but I like this because it's true, isn't it?
It's true,
No,
dude.
it's true.
You know what I mean? We want to do all this social shit. Let's talk the reality. We're fucking cooking on the line. We're getting it done. Some of the best dudes you're working next to came out of jail. They can't go work in that corporate shit. They don't give a fuck about insurance. They don't want to get popped and go back in the pen. You know, they're gonna get fucked up tonight, and they don't want to get a DUI. How many people you work with have DUIs? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why are you riding a bike or getting an Uber to work? You know what I mean? Yeah. Think about it. You know
no,
what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
So I think after you go through that time, and hopefully you didn't fucking get a DUI, and you grew and you had talent, you start to self-reflect and know you can't do this shit and fucking go to bed after the bar at late night and wake up and do that. Your body taps out. You start getting mature. You start drinking less, and everyone knows Chef doesn't go to a bar with us anymore or something. You know?
It's real boring now. It's really
It's a
boring.
reality. And then you start becoming an adult or whatever, and life changes. Maybe you meet somebody, have kids. You change your lifestyle, right? But you're still in the same environment. So you look for other things to become manageable. Maybe you hear everyone start exercising, and then, you know, you're doing a yoga class. Fitness is always, I see a lot of it with really high-level chefs. A bunch of guys are doing jiu-jitsu. They learn how to balance this, you know, take on new hobbies that are better, so we could sustain longevity in this business. I don't think there's enough of these conversations, because this is a form of wellness where we get to talk to each other and hear what's impacting her and him and you, and have somebody kind of advise us to say, hey, are you guys aware of this community? Because I think we're kind of isolated, and we're kind of like that sometimes by default and on purpose, because there's a lot of, I feel in my days, machismo.
100%.
I can't take help. Do you need help? No, I don't need help. I need to do my service. I got my shit together. Don't
Especially
help me.
amongst men as well.
Yeah.
We're getting better at it,
Yeah.
but we're not big sharers, and we want to pretend everything's all right, and it's hard for us to
And
admit.
you can't ask for help to get your station ready. You're not a bitch. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's in my language. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be offensive, but that's the way guys talk in the kitchen. You know what I mean? I'm not a punk bitch. I'll do my shit. You know what I mean? And I'll get my station ready.
I feel the same way.
Well, it's all these layers that is the piracy of it all. I remember that being a very big thing in my growth for me personally. I remember vividly when I started to be okay saying, yeah, brother, you can help me. And it meant I wasn't showing weakness, because everyone would also look in the kitchen who was asking for help or who needed help to finish their station. All right. I come from those days.
Yes.
When you're done, you get to go eat family meal. Just because family meal's up at 3
Doesn't mean you're gonna get there.
doesn't mean you're going to go eat.
Yeah.
Because there's the guys that came in early, stayed later, and worked through family meal to make sure their shit was ready.
Yeah.
There was the cool guys that were always, their station was ready and they could go eat family meal. Clicky, the elitists within the brigade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or the head chef that would refuse to eat family meal to show that he was tough enough to work through it.
Or, yeah, whether tough enough or he wanted to actually garner respect from his staff and say, you go eat, man. I'm
gonna finish.
Yeah. There's all these little unspoken about gestures.
Cultures, yeah.
Yeah.
Nuances within the
So-
culture.
It is a competition. It is a competition. It's like, who's gonna be the next sous chef who works faster, better, longer,
And
stronger.
to attest what you're saying, none of that defines if you're really the best fucking chef in the
Exactly.
kitchen. For me, the epiphany was learning how to be unselfish. And I say that because my whole career was a career of selfishness. I had to work for this person. You had to do this. You had to attain this. I had to get this. It doesn't matter who had to sacrifice, because I was putting myself through the ringer. But it doesn't mean I know how my family felt, not being there on holidays. So my unselfishness came by having a child. and then realizing, okay, there's a time of balance of being a parent and a chef, but then when it comes to how many events are you going to miss of their life now, where you have to say, okay, if I can't change the industry, I have to probably say, okay, I'm not going to try to work at this fine dining restaurant. Maybe this casual restaurant that's a little bit more chill and I can have an extra day off is okay.
There's almost as well a fighting with your ego as well, because the ego gets in the way,
because
doesn't
now
it?
I have to eat that shit, but I'm eating it. No, but I'm eating it. Everyone's in a different stage of their life with what's palatable for them. You know, so that's why I think you can see like young chefs and old chefs. I think older chefs admire the young chefs because they got all the gas in the tank, nothing in the world to fucking fear. They're going for making their name, they're running their run, and in a different stage of life, they know that eventually we're all going to end up here. You know what I mean? Hopefully, you're going to have more accolades and more cards in your deck. I like to say, to play the game the better, so you're winning more. I think it's kind of fucked up. And I didn't want to talk so much and be disheartening, but it's so sad that I feel like our industry is so mean to the most righteous. This is one of the only industries that you commit so much time, all of your life, acquire so much information and knowledge. But as you get older, you don't necessarily, doesn't mean you became successful. You have all these great chefs that made so much impact and changed the industry, and they don't have restaurants, and they can't get restaurants, and the business model has changed that they're not even cooking anymore. And whether you did or didn't write a book, whether you are teaching and passing that information on, it's like, why is it so unfair to all these great generations that paved the way? So now we can have a voice, you know what I mean? So it's kind of fucked up. You know, other industries, that person would be the CEO. This would be sit on the board of advisors and kind of tell them how to, you know, guide them into the next years. But these guys they become washed up, and you forget about them. And then some people have a memory, but then there's a whole young generation that will never know that person's name. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
No, it's true.
It's very true.
But like, you know, I want to tell you something, like, because we're from here, like you're like, I have to eat that shit, right? Like, what for me, as being a cook who always looked up to you, I don't care what you cook now. I know the legacy, what you left in my career for the rest of my career. And you can cook wings tomorrow. It is not about defining you as a chef of any caliber, but just defining you purely as this incredibly talented person who made an impact on a lot of people's life. It does not matter what you cook right now. So like, you are part of being a chef is what makes it's maybe 50% of Timon. The other 50 is the greatest part of makes you really Timon, right? And I am lucky that I get to experience that from you. I was a server. We were sharing a hallway where we would all smoke. And I was just like, man, I really want to work for Timon. Like, I really want to work for Timon. But I was like too scared because he had the robata. And I was like, no, you're going to tell me to go fuck off, you know? And then my dad was like, I can go ask Timon. And I was like, I'm not a bitch. Like, I don't need you to go ask him to get me a job.
I opened a hotel with her dad. Okay. That's the first time I met her father.
And like,
we work with
it's just
father.
Beyond that, right? Like,
yeah. And it's not about me, but it's like,
just in general, like, it's hard for you male chefs. The middle ground is hard. You know, you either want to be like 7 a.m. to 2 a.m. and we're fucking crushing it. We're the best of the best. And we are thought like very bang on my chest, you know?
That's all we know and the way we see.
It's how we judge each other as well.
Yeah,
those guys.
1,000%.
But you were judged. You were judged because your legacy's there. You left it. You touched it.
I'm talking about so many other chefs though too. You know?
No, like you're right. It's fucked up. But for someone like me, it doesn't matter what you cook.
Let's prep. Let's go.
Heard, chef.
Chef Heard.
I got this.
I love the fact that Val, Timon, and Oscar are really starting to open up here. Like we all said at the start of this episode, the table is a safe space in which to be vulnerable. And you can hear that vulnerability coming through in this conversation, as well as something else that I think is going to be incredibly important moving forward, and that is a sense of community. You know, I've been working on Heard now for over a year, and by the time I'd set up this panel, I already had strong ideas that it was leadership that was going to be the answer to the problems we find in the kitchen. So I wanted to ask the chefs about their experiences. But now, as I sit speaking to these free, open chefs, I'm starting to think that leadership is actually quite a lonely place, especially when you're trying to change the status quo. When you first step into that leadership role, it's all too easy to repeat the kind of behaviours that you observed in the past, like this Napoleon complex style admission from Val.
We've all had moments, right? It's like one time I got up on a ladder because I wasn't, this guy was like 6'2" and he fucked up. He cooked something crazy and I was like, wait a minute. I went, got a ladder, got fucking up the ladder. And I was like, fuck you. You're a piece of shit. You don't know how to cook this, right? Because I didn't want to look up to him. Like, I was so tired of always looking up to him. And he was very machismo, like very big guy. And I was like, hell no, not today, Satan. I went and got my ladder. And I was on my, I would never do that again to anybody. Ever in my entire life, because I understand, like, I had no right.
It's a thin line though, isn't it, between being a good motivator, being a tough leader, but then knowing that point when, like, that's going too far.
We don't know that point.
Yeah.
That's the craziness. Like,
but that's where you've got to find
it,
leaders, though. So we speak to this performance coach, this lady, Dr. Julie Gurney. She's like, you've got to look at the leaders you've had in your life and pick the bits. And you're going to know the bits where that was a bit too far, and you drop that bit. And you build a picture of a leader based on all the good bits that came around. And, like, I'm a big football fan. I'm a big soccer fan. Jurgen Klopp was the coach of our team. And all you would ever see at the end of a game, whether we lost 5-0 or not, was him coming out and hugging every player. In fact, it became so prevalent that the other teams would come from a hug for him. He's like famously for hugging people. But of course, you read his book, you realise in the back room, when it was needed, he was
giving it to you.
He was, and there's that fine balance, isn't there? Like, I think you can be a tough, demanding leader, but you've got to notice at the point where, okay, maybe I don't fucking get a ladder out and get in someone's face, or maybe that person needs an arm around their shoulder because they've got some shit going on.
But that takes time.
You know, it's experience, right?
Yeah.
Like
but also the vulnerability, because I need to know that Oscar's in a bad way today because he had a fight with his wife, and if we can't say that, or the kid's having a trouble with a medical exam, or, like, once you start to understand your team in a bit of a better way, that's a much better way of saying, okay, today he needs a bit of space.
And this is the difficult thing, right? Because you have a team and the team keeps changing. You don't get to know the people. Once you know the people,
they know
once you see them walking in, you know in what kind of mood they are. I think it's very important that they don't adjust to you. You as a leader has to adjust to them to get the best out of them. That's the way it is.
It's such a powerful statement, but it takes time for you to get there.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
It takes time for you to get there.
Yeah.
Because
I
when you said all those things about your coach, I realized, I don't know how many of us have kids, but I do, and I realized, think about what we're saying here. It's like almost like parenting.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Because you could be a good parent or bad parent, but the duration of parenting, you make a lot of mistakes yourself. You can probably scream at your child, and then you go back and you have this remorse, and you're like, fuck, I shouldn't have did it that way. And then you also have to think, like, each child is different. How do you communicate to that child to get through to them the point you're trying to do? And like I said in the beginning, it's very selfish. This is my kitchen temple. Maybe the head chefs in the world think, like, this is my temple. You're here to cook my food. You're here to work for me. I can't conform to speak to you. You need to learn how to speak our language here. That's what you're here learning to do.
And that happens so much.
Yeah. 1,000%. 1,000%.
Like, we debate so much about the kitchen brigade system, and for a long time I would be like, it needs to go. Why are we still organising kitchens on a 103-year-old system? Then I did a lot of research, realised that, one, it's not based on the French military. We just say it. We've repeated that. We all think it. It's not. It was based on factories.
It's factory.
It's about breaking down work. Ironically, when Escoffier made it, it was to free up the time of chefs.
So they can do more.
And every business in the world that produces things has got some form of production line. So it's not that. It's the ego of the guy who sits at the top of that chain that trickles down that causes the issues with it. And I think vulnerability is fucking powerful. Like, we started this talk by saying about the table and how that makes us a little bit more vulnerable, and it's happened now, even without food and no alcohol and just chatting around a table. Slowly everyone's become a little bit more vulnerable.
Yeah.
The power of vulnerability it's probably one of the most attractive things in the world in a person as well. Because as soon as someone shares something vulnerably, he did it and you did it immediately. You say, I fucked up as a leader by getting this ladder out. As soon as you're presented with vulnerability, you want to show vulnerability back. And once that's how you get understanding, especially amongst men, because everything's fine. No, everything's fine. And it's never always fine.
Whether we acknowledge it, most of the time we're trying to hide it and not acknowledge it and maintain this persona of perfection, just like the restaurant's perfect.
Exactly.
But you don't show all your dirty laundry. How did you get to that quote unquote perfect meal to this person or that?
Who got broken on the way? Yeah.
Yeah, who got broken on as an acceptable casualty? You know what I mean?
No, but we lose our humanity. The most human thing to do is to fail. We fail every day.
It's where the best lessons come from. Often
Exactly.
As well, no? The failures. It's like
It's
okay.
100%. I mean, the only way you can keep trying, and you're right, like it takes time. But the only way you're gonna learn is you're gonna fail.
Of course.
You're gonna make the mistakes. You have to own them. Sometimes you're like, sorry, I did this.
I don't know if you're gonna talk about it. I gotta talk about it again.
No, well, let's do it. Go for it.
So, failing. We are like judged partially on the accolades we have.
Yeah.
100%.
And I can only speak to myself how I have put a period of my life and career, I put the accolade on a pedestal as the be-all, tell-all defining value of what it was I was doing on a daily basis. What happens when you don't win that award? What happens when everything you've sacrificed doesn't pan out? You know what I mean? Dealing with that. And that has many hats. Politics on the reason why you win. What it means if you do or don't reciprocate it monetarily to your business, the business model, and so, you know, monetarily. And you know, like self-hurt and how you react to that. You know, the most famous Bernard Noisseau thought he was going to not get his third Michelin star. We all know what he did, right? Yeah. Walked into the barn.
But then I
this industry.
I think the
And wait a second. Has this happened to you? Because I feel like we're all sort of talking about sharing, but there's something in there in that line you just gave that you're holding back on. And I smell
we don't have alcohol, so...
No. I think we're so close to you sharing something very relevant.
Yeah, but we don't
there.
fucking have alcohol.
Put it out there. Let's pretend this is mezcal. Put it out there. What were you touching on there? There's been an award.
I'm just saying there's all these factors that start to, you know, this industry has done to us. And again, it could be for a lot of other people and a lot of, you know, actors getting snubbed at the Emmys or something, you know what I mean? Or the Oscars, whatever you know? When you do something so passionate.
But for me, and I think Ryan knows me very well, for me, I feel so happy that I get to do every day what I love. And for me, that's the most important thing. And, you know, I don't care about accolades. I don't care about getting my name out there. I'm lucky enough that I can make a living doing what I love. For me, waking up in the morning going to work is not an effort.
You're righteous, motherfucker. You're righteous.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it's like, because I look at it like whatever you are choosing to be, I look at it as a sport.
Yes.
An athlete doesn't go into a sport to say, I want to play for the minors. They want to make it straight to the top. So apply that to us. I don't just want to work at whatever restaurant. I want to work at the best restaurant.
I think as well there's another issue here as well is like, and it's probably more scary than feeling snubbed, is when you do get the recognition and it doesn't give you what you thought it would give you. Which happens all the time with sports people. I want to win that. I want to win that. And then they win it. They get the gold medal at the Olympic, and they're standing on the stage holding a gold medal, and they still don't get that fulfillment they thought they'd get. So they go looking for something else, and they go look, and it's so the fulfillment's not the gold medal. It was something else. It was something internally that you probably haven't addressed. There's a need that's coming from somewhere else. That's where you got to go to the couch, as JJ says in the podcast. You got to go to the couch, man.
That's
where yeah. That's where you got to sit down and understand what is that drive. Where is it coming from? What's that approval that you've attached to a star or a certain place on a list? Because the amount of people I've spoken to are like, you know, I thought I'd get there. I thought that would be it. And I felt worse that day after winning because I'm like, what's next? What do I do now? Where do I go now? It's often we're attaching something to that accolade that's deeper in us than the accolade.
My perspective, I think that, yeah, for me, you're one of the greatest chefs that's ever come out of these kitchens. Yeah. So I think that some people are in your presence that don't realize that they're in your presence. And it's not about, it's the sacrifice you did on those. Like, who could ever forget how you changed the culinary scene here in Miami? Like, who could?
That's kind words.
No, it's a reality. It just
a group
is
of
what
many.
it is.
Fact.
He allowed us to look at food differently here, right? Like, just even bringing small plates to the table and being sharing. Even like his cocktail menu at the restaurant, or just the variety on the menu, how I see it, you know. For me, I'm always in awe, and I think, you know, it's funny, like, I just don't think that people give you that space of like royalty, where in my head you have it, right? Like, it is my honor, it is always to share anything with you, to be able to call you when it's a tough day, or for you to call me and be like, are you going nuts? You know, like.
And has there been a particular award that you expected or wanted and didn't get?
Many.
Yeah. Go on.
Yeah,
Something's
many.
happened recently though, yeah?
A little bit. I probably didn't get an accolade that many thought that I would get.
This year?
This year.
Michelin?
Maybe.
Well, it's
So, it's...
And how did that affect you?
You know, for me, personally, after like at least 30 years in this industry and already going through those emotions, another thing you said talk about that I didn't want to talk about was there was a period of my life where I wanted to like hurt myself when I didn't get an award. And I had to deal with that. And it's a tough thing to kind of figure out your value there.
And you mean like self-harm? Like
Yeah.
hurt yourself?
1,000%. I lived in a fucking building. My wife's like, we gotta move before you jump off. You gotta realize this industry, what it does to you.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do. And it's funny because I mentioned a figure yesterday and I saw people sort of like, that's bullshit. And the figure I said is 52% of chefs have considered suicide or self-harm during a kitchen shift. And I could see people like, the fuck, where's he getting these figures from? It was a survey of 2,500 chefs. Mm-hmm. And to hear you say it personally.
Yeah, you know, I think we all kind of go through things and everyone's fucking reaction is different.
Yes.
And how did you address that? Did you have therapy or is it something
No,
you
I had
say?
an angel. I had my wife.
So much pressure in this fucking industry though, eh?
Yes.
That we don't realize, that journalists don't realize, that diners don't realize. You know, someone who's seemingly so strong. I met you just 2 days ago on stage. Seemingly so. Like,
Thank you. I am strong.
I get it, but the real strong is that.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
being
yeah.
able to open up. That's the real fucking
that's the
strong.
real strong.
That's the real strong though. That's the true leadership, eh? That hey, that's because there's probably so many chefs out there that got affected like that. So many chefs that have fought in a similar way.
Yeah. Think about, you know, some of the ones we know and we have tragic stories.
A lot.
One had a great TV show, you know. You never know what people are going through. And it's like, listen to what you're saying. All the privilege, we're fucking pirates, dude. Who said we could lead the ship? Sometimes the best cook we default got promoted. That guy fucking
It's all default.
Yeah, he got a DUI. You got to fucking run the pass. You're the chef today. You're the sous chef becomes a chef. There was no school that make you become a good leader. Nobody said I'm gonna go to school become a therapist. and a mentor. I'm just a fucking cook, dude.
And have you ever thought about getting a therapist for yourself? Have you ever? Has anyone here ever done it? I've done therapy.
I changed my life.
You've done therapy, yeah?
Yeah, I've been in therapy for
Good.
Yeah, I'm giving you a hug.
Yeah.
Like
we should
coach.
give each other more hugs, man. We should give each other more hugs. All of us should. But,
for 4 or 5 years.
yeah.
Therapy has allowed me to just be like, hey, what is happening? Okay, this is all very like transitional, and it's men. I think you guys have a lot more pressure on yourselves to not go to therapy, right? Because shows you as weak, whatever. And I try to tell him, like, you don't go to therapy because you're gonna fix anything.
No.
You go to therapy because you're gonna understand yourself. You're gonna say, like, oh, okay, like, oh, it's because my mom moved to the U.S. and I was 1 and I stayed with my grandparents for 9 years without her. And so, like, you seek therapy however it's convenient for you, and it speaks to you. Not convenient, it speaks to you, right? But, like, yeah, I mean, I'm lucky, right? Like, and I said that from the beginning. I know I'm lucky to even have any of the accolades, but that also, like, I had one of the most beautiful years I'll never in my career so far.
Let's sum up that year a little bit, because it has been a crazy year, no?
Because it's been a crazy 2 years.
I want to pause and say you are lucky, but then you have to self-acknowledge and take your flowers. You're fucking talented.
No,
bro.
when I was
You know what I
writing
mean?
this
Like, straight
letter,
up. I know you know that, but thank you for all the love you've given me. But I think it's very synergistic, because I see you like as my little sister, like Nando looks at you, and like niece. So I have pride, but your food's like globally fucking delicious, homie. You know, you need to know that, because not just because I'm saying it, but those accolades are validated too. The motherfucker's a goat. But like, the food is good.
Do we have enough time for all the awards?
No, the food is good. The food is
Food's
good.
amazing. Delicious.
Sorry.
But before we move there, I want to ask you one final question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to prod you a little
No,
bit.
brother. We're
Is
good.
there
We're
a
homies
reason-
now. We just met 2 days ago. We're homies. We're going to eat together.
Is there a reason you haven't done therapy? Is there something that holds you back from doing it? Is there a...
I am not mature enough.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice, though.
I am. I'm fucked up.
No, it's not
hey,
fucked up,
it's really
bro.
hard for people of color also to find therapists that make you feel understood. I want you to, like, it's not just like for us brown, like, there's also privilege there too. It just is. It's really hard to find a therapist who can speak. Like, do I really want this, like, white, respectfully boy telling me, you know, you need to connect? And that's also real, but there's a lot of resources for that too now. Just saying.
Perfect. You guys are going to help me with that.
Yeah. I
Everything's
think
for a
you're
reason.
so self-observant. You're so emotionally attuned that, you're doing yourself a disservice by not trying to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, which means I'm doing my food a disservice, because we are a reflection of who we are.
Yeah.
The plate is a reflection of who we are.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to think about self-harm over an award, you know? Like,
Oh, yeah.
because
We passed that road.
Here,
But that's happening.
I know it is, but I'm judging you on, like, fuck, look how honest this guy is. Look how emotional he is. Look how in tune he is. Look how much he's progressed from being like, I've got to be in the kitchen all the time, to, shit, I'm a dad, I've got to reassess that's how I judge a character. And I think, like, from what you've showed me in a very short amount of time, you're doing everything right. So
Thank you. I
don't do
appreciate
yourself
that.
a
That's
disservice. Let's get back to the huge list of awards.
I wanna hear the
that
list, too.
Val.
I don't know that list.
I mean, look, food and wine best young chef. That's huge. That's joining some royalty. No,
Yeah,
is that?
you
There's
know?
James Beard as well. No,
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Beard Best
Rising Star.
Rising Star Chefs.
Yeah.
James Beard Best Chef Award winner. There hasn't been one in South Florida, Miami in like over
14 years. Yeah.
Yes, that's huge from a regional impact.
Well, let me tell you about the awards.
Okay.
Because I want to put it in.
Please put some
for
context.
everybody. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
I had the hardest emotional 2 years of my life while I was receiving any of those awards, and I don't think I enjoyed any of them. Okay, and if I would go back in time, I would tell myself,
Enjoy
you
it.
have to enjoy this.
It's so hard
It
though.
will never. No, but I, for instance, like, my grandma passed and I decided to go to Chicago on my own because I was sure I didn't win. I wasn't going to win. And then now I look back and I'm like, I'm an idiot. I should have looked at Nando and said, no, you're coming with me. I should have looked at my dad and said, no, you're coming with me, because if there's any chance I do win,
or even if we don't win, let's just experience the chance of winning.
And now Nando's up, and he casually, how Nando is, was like, so you going to, are you going to Chicago? And I'm like, I would never not go to Chicago with you. I would never not.
Let's go.
Whether you win or not, like,
just buy my ticket.
Not, he wouldn't. I was like, whether you win or not, I will never not. There's a Michelin ceremony, right? And if I didn't have the heart that I have, I would be like, I don't want to go anywhere or be seen anywhere right now. I just kind of want to be on my own. But, we got invited to it. And I'm like, Nando, let's go. And if he doesn't want to go, I'm like, let's not go. But if you want to go, I will be your sister and stand next to you for whatever happens, because that's my favorite actual title in your life, is being your sister, not being your chef.
When is the
So
ceremony?
just next week, Thursday. But if you don't want to go, let me know, because I got a big catering, and I can make a lot of money. So you tell me, but just I went home those 2 years as I was getting those accolades and cried almost every day. At some point, I was like, I got to take antidepressants. I'm going a little crazy here. The pressure was just, it's too much for someone like me. And it was just a lot. It's just pressure, and everybody wants. Some people think you deserve it. Some people don't think you deserve it. And heavy is the head that wears the crown. It is true. But
also there's it's the whole of Buddhism, isn't it? Living in the moment. There's people dedicate their entire lives, give up all their possessions, and live constantly just trying to understand how to live in the moment. It's the hardest thing. I want one last thing with you guys, which is what's been that one tip, that one thing that's improved your own wellness?
Having a pet. Make it all I have a little home. Someone asked me, they're like, do you live alone? I'm like, I mean, technically, there's no other human living there, but I don't live alone.
Yeah.
And I love that my dogs just know me as their dog mom, nothing else. They don't care what I cook. They don't care if I've gotten an accolade. They just want to go on nice long walks with me and share snacks.
I think for me, it's my personal relationships, especially my wife, have helped me.
You have great friends as well, no? And you recently, you called me out.
Yes.
You sent me a message, and I loved it, yeah? I even said thanks to you.
What did you say?
Because I can get quite distant, yeah? Especially if we start to get too close, I pull back. That's my weird attachment shit going on. And there'd been a few messages in the group, and I'd not really been responding. I just get a message that was like, yo, bro, you work in fucking communication. You're communicating really badly. You got people over here who love you. What the fuck is up? And I woke up to that because often his messages come through to me and I'm sleeping. So I got that in the morning. I was like, I need a kick up the ass like that every now and again. But
what'd you do?
I said sorry. I wrote him, I'm really sorry, man. I love you.
No, I have a very good system around me.
You have a great friend group.
I have a great friend. Sometimes some of them are very bad influence, especially my wine friends, because they love to go all the way out. But no, I have a very good system. I'm very lucky. My wife and her family are very supportive. They're amazing people. I have a better relationship with my parents than I ever had too. It's very good.
Mm. And yourself, what about you? What's been something that you're like, that really helps my wellness, that gets me back on track?
Everyone's talking about their personal. I actually just I thought you were kind of referring to the restaurant, and I was going to say that for me in the restaurant, it started, again, so selfish. Everyone was a cog in my wheel for my vision of attaining what I thought was perfect, which is always not what I thought. It was perfection to the guest and the most proper execution of this dish representing all of this culture and this time and this technique. So that was always my kind of definition of perfection. And I'll be honest, it wasn't as much hypersensitive on the wellness of the whole brigade. And then now in the later years, through time and tested and not winning awards and fuck everything and just sustain and closing restaurants and trying to open genuine ones, what works well is seeing my staff happy. And if they own it, that's really fucking admirable. So if they're happy and you see that there's a good energy, then that's a very, like, the guests will taste that. And then I feel like I don't have to be in the restaurant, or like, I'm not saying I don't have to be in the restaurant, but they're doing it better because they've owned it.
That should be the dream, no?
Yeah.
But you can say that. I don't have to be in the restaurant, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Well,
That's-
because
there's
they're
different
probably
layers of
going
being
to
a
do it
businessman.
better. Also, they're going to also probably do it better.
Yeah, but no, there's a
because they have
pirate
so
in
many
you.
reps.
There's a pirate in you that when you say that, you go, I'm not saying like, no.
Yeah.
Timon,
Arr.
you can say, I don't have to be there. I created this. I managed this. I look over this.
And
I see
interestingly, that's the
numbers
dream of
this.
a successful business in almost all other professions, is that I built a business so good that it manages itself when I'm not there.
But we're the only business
Or
that goes
better.
back.
Yeah,
Well, we're the only
You may
business that
fuck
does
it
it
up.
backwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, the more we do, is the less time we have. Everybody else, the more their business grows, the more time they have for vacations, family, that. Like, we go like, vacation,
That's my choice, huh?
100%. I'm with you. All
That's
the
my
vacations.
choice. That's my
Come
choice.
on, come to this side.
Oh, yeah.
You say it. I don't have to be there.
I can't say it.
See, he can't say it. It's a
You can
pirate
say
in
it.
him.
One time I was working, I don't remember where it was, and like the kitchen's full of Latinos. We listened to music in the basement, and when the chef came, it's like, shut that shit off. You can like, no music. It's like, I went to the office like, Jefe, we're Latinos. If we're happy, we're gonna cook better. Let us do it, and you'll see the difference. And he looked at me, no, you guys don't have discipline. It's like, that's okay, but you're gonna have a better product. And he came back, it's like, guys, play whatever you want, but not that loud.
Yeah.
Because like it's true, like we need music, we need our like, sabor.
Yeah, sabor.
So like listen music and like you're happy, like yeah.
If you're not happy, you just can't
No,
put
you
out
can
good
cook.
product. You can't. Like, you put out angry product. You're like, oh.
It's so fucked up how our industry
sound
had
all
got
angry.
that so wrong for so many years.
Yeah.
And we believe that's the norm.
It was the most uncomfortable you are, supposedly to be better
Yeah.
product.
Which is kind of weird.
It's
right?
weird. It should be the contrary. The more comfortable you are cooking, I think the food like gonna be better. We have talked about legacy. We cook for a living, but the most important about us is our humanity.
Yeah.
And I think that's our legacy.
Your
If we have one,
career does not define
does
you.
not define
Yeah.
you. For me, if you ask me, for me in my head, when I think about Timon, is the person in my industry has one of the biggest hearts I ever met.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
Timon.
it, brother. You too. You're the best.
Like you can ask, like, oh, he cooks delicious. His heart is humongous. Like, easily. So for me, that's how I want to see and how a legacy, like, amazing human, beautiful family. When I say Timon, I like, for me, like, 2 kids coming out, amazing wife. And I think if there's a legacy, because when you die, you die. It doesn't really matter. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been emotional. Even for me, really. I got no skin in this game, but it's been so nice to watch you guys. There's been very little disagreement. And that's when you know you're onto a topic that's impacting everyone, is when there's a lot of, okay, maybe I see it a little bit different, but the same thing happens to me, maybe in a different way. And so I hope when people listen, that they get encouraged to have more chats like this.
That the conversation is important because there's not enough things that shatter the glass. Again, we come from a culture that's so machismo independent, so that creates social barriers. So when we go and we may be in the same room in a conference, and you know this fucking person because you follow their social media and you feel connected to them and you see what they're saying, but you still have never formally met them. These type of conversations is like one step in the right direction of breaking down the barriers for us as a community to come together and realize that the issues we all are touched upon, and if we hear different perspective, ideology, and resources, we can come to a conclusion and a solution together sooner. And it's taken really long, and we should stride forward more,
Faster.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pirate Radio.
Pirate radio.
They changed the
Thank you
logo.
for having us.
No, really, thanks for everything.
This season, we've peeled back the layers. Beyond the clatter of pans and the sizzle of the flames, to the heartbeats behind the kitchen hustle. We've spoken truths too long whispered in shadows. The weight of mental health, the real cost of leadership, the fragile art of balance, passion, and obsession, the healing power of rest. We sat with chefs who've bared their scars, who broke through that protective armor of toughness to reveal the vulnerable stories beneath. And in those stories, we found community, the overlooked power of connecting together, that place where honesty becomes a lifeline and where shared pain transforms into shared strength. And in this fire of community, real leadership gets forged, raw, compassionate, and unflinching. And as we close this final chapter, we hope that the whispers can now become a chorus, because change is not born in silence, pride, or ego, but in vulnerability, courage, and connection. We're not going anywhere. Just as you support us all by creating that special third place, by setting the stage of life that is the table, we are honoured to have built our own small community with each and every one of you. Honoured by the messages and the comments that you've sent, and by feeling that we've sparked just a small but important conversation. Season 2 is already in motion, ushering in a fresh chapter focused on cultivating sustainable business and entrepreneurial spirit. We'll continue to shine a spotlight on the visionary leaders who are helping shape the future of hospitality. And we hope we will continue to grow this amazing community. Thank you all for walking this path with us, for listening, and for joining us at this special table and holding space for those hard conversations. Together, we're not just hearing, we're slowly becoming heard. Love you all, Ryan.